Alright, hello everyone. Mr. No Souls here, and today we are going to be discussing the Cleric in the 2024 Player's Handbook. And this is a alright depiction of a cleric. Looks like they have a holy symbol mace, and they are purging a lot of undead. Probably casting turn undead, and don't really some phantoms maybe, not sure. Very cool looking though. Now, as I've said previously, clerics are very much like gods helpers in the lands. They don't have oaths per se, but they do serve the gods, and as such they are given some of the gods holy powers. Now, their primary casting or primary attribute, and they also use it for casting, is wisdom. They only have a d8, well, only a d8 hit die. I mean, compared to the barbarian, that's low, but compared to most other classes, that's actually not bad. That's a pretty middle of the pack hit die. Saving throw proficiencies are wisdom and charisma, and they also have skills proficiencies, which they get to choose two, of history, insight, medicine, persuasion, or religion. So I feel like the common one is religion and one of the others, but what you'd want to pick is really dependent upon what your campaign or one shot or whatever the setting it is that you're going into. That's really going to be the decider on what you would want to pick for a skill proficiency here. You only have simple weapons, which is a little disappointing, but again, you're mostly a caster class. You're not really heavily dependent on going and using more advanced weapons. You do also get light, medium, and shields. Light, medium armor, and then shields. The again, you don't get that heavy armor, but again, you don't have the most health. So you have some decent protection options, and you do have a shield to buff up that AC a little bit more. You put a tower shield on, and if you're a dwarf, you effectively just have a moderate sized shield, and you're effectively given full cover, which is quite powerful. Your starting equipment can be the following: chain shirt, shield, mace, your holy symbol, a priest pack, which gives you a backpack, a blanket, holy water, a lamp, 7 days of rations, robe, and a tinderbox, with an additional 7 gold pieces at the end. Or you simply take 110 gold pieces, which is quite a bit of gold. But you can use that for a lot of different things. Now, as I said, they draw their power from the realm of gods. Pardon my yawn. I'm doing this video far later than I normally do, but I will do one video a day. So, here I am. Now, becoming a cleric. As level 1 cleric, you get all their traits and you get all their features. If you choose to multi-class as a cleric, you will gain their hit point die, you will get their light and medium armors, and the shield proficiency. It's not a lot, but it's not terrible. As you can see here, clerics have quite a few class features. They were quite a favorite for a long time. And yeah, they have a lot of really cool role-playing capabilities. They also, as you can see here, have all the way up to the ninth tier spells. There used to be 10th tier spells, I think I should mention. However, I forget which edition it was. It was one of the older editions. Effectively, like one of the gods of magic were killed or sealed away, and that's why the 10th tier spells all disappeared. The god of magic is the only one with 10th tier spells. Everyone else now is relegated down to 9. So, This is how many spells you get. Not the most, but definitely not bad. Now, level 1, you get your standard spell casting. You get to have 3 cantrips from the Cleric spell list. Thaumaturgy is a common choice, allows you to do quite a few little tricks and magical things to impress the uninitiated. And then there's Guidance and Sacred Flames, but there's quite a few different options. It really depends on what you want to do with your cleric is going to decide which cantrips you're going to really be taking. Again, when you level, you can replace one cantrip with another cantrip. And also, when you get to level 4 and 10, you get another cantrip as well from that list. So that will take you up to 5 cantrips. Spell slots, you get to have all your level 1 spell slots, and you gain all expended spell slots when you long rest. Note, you don't get any if you short rest as a cleric. Prepared spells, level 1, you have a list of them. You're able to choose 4 level 1 spells. Again, how you want to play the cleric really will impact which ones you're going to want to pick. And let's see, whenever the number increases, choose additional spells from the spell list until you have the maximum number list matching the number on the table. The chosen spells must be the level you have. Because these spells, you always have, the spells don't count against the number of spells you can prepare with this feature. Whenever you want to change your spells, you have to finish a long rest. But you can replace any of the spells as long as they're from the cleric spell list. So, pretty flexible. You're able to do quite a bit of switching out as needed. You have a spellcasting ability, which wisdom is your primary modifier. Your focus is your holy symbol. Now, level 1, you have a divine order. You have to decide for yourself which sacred roles of your choice. You're either going to be a protector, which you train for battle, then you get a martial weapon proficiency, and heavy armor. So, quite a bit stronger in the melee category. Or you go the Thaumaturge, and you get 1 extra cantrip. In addition, your Mystic Connection to the Divine gives you a bonus to your intelligence, arcane or religion. You have to pick one. Check. The bonus equals your wisdom modifier. So, not bad if you're going to be a spellcaster. Generally speaking, you can be a frontline fighter as a cleric, and with all the healing options you have available, it is very powerful and should be respected. You know, I often go in there with heavy armor and just start laying into the undead. Personal favorite of mine. However, the Thaumaturge option, really allowing you to be more of a backline caster, I feel gets a little bit more love in most of the subclasses now. So we'll go down the list and you're going to have to make your decision on which way you want to play it. But at level 2, you get the channel Divinity. You can raise your... Okay, so you get 2 effects. Divine Spark and Turn Undead. And each time you use Channel Divinity, choose which Channel Divinity effect to create. So, when you use Channel Divinity twice, you gain 1 if it's expended uses when you finish a short rest. You gain all on a long rest. Also, note, you only have 2 casts early on, and you only get your 3rd at level 6. And that stays the exact same way to level 18. You do not have a lot of channel divinities. So that is something you're going to need to be very aware of going in. So if channel effects requires a saving throw, the DC equals the spell saves DC from the class spell casting feature. Your Divine Spark magic action, which just replaces your attack action, You point your holy symbol at another creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself and focus divine energy at it. Roll 1d8, add your wisdom modifier, and you restore hit points to the creature equal to the total, or force the creature to make a constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes necrotic or radiant damage equal to the total. On a successful save, the creature takes half damage, round down. So, you can heal or harm with this. It's not bad. This increases when you hit rank 7 to 2d8s, at 13 it's 3d8s, at 18 it's 4d8s. It's not bad. I mean, you get more powerful things, but at the highest level you get 4 of these, like, divine channels. I have mixed feelings on how much it does, but the fact that it can heal or harm is actually a very useful thing, especially early on. Turn Undead is your second option. Again, holy symbol, censure the undead creatures. Undead of your choice within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail, they are frightened and incapacitated for 1 minute. For the duration, if it tries to move as far from you as it can on its turn. This effect ends early on the creature taking damage, if you gain the incapacitated condition, or if you die. So, there you go. Generally speaking, to die, you normally become incapacitated first, but, maybe they really need to spell that one out. At level 3, you get your subclass. We're going to talk about those later, so we're not going to waste time on that. Level 4, you get the ability score improvement. At level 5, you get to Sear the Undead. So whenever you turn undead, you can roll a number of d8s equal to your wisdom modifier and add the rolls together. Each undead that fails its saving throw against turn undead takes radiant damage equal to the rolls total. This damage doesn't end the turn's effect. So not only does it become a CC, but at level 5, if you have, let's say, a 3 modifier, you can do 3d8s. At level 5, that is a respectable damage. Now, granted, you can still only do it twice. Yeah, you can still only do it twice, but if you level up one more time to 6, then you can do it 3 times. That's pretty good. But I really feel like it doesn't have as much raw strength as other classes if you just spend the time to keep going down it. At level 7, you gain the Blessed Strike. Blessed Strike, once each turn, when you hit a creature with an attack roll using a weapon, you can cause the target to take 1d8 necrotic or radiant damage, your choice. Add your wisdom modifier to the damage you deal with any cleric cantrip. That's pretty good. This is actually pretty good. Like, when you get to this point, yeah, being a melee attacker does have some value in this. But if you're going the mage caster route, this isn't as great. This is useful for buffing the cantrips, but I don't know. The cleric really suffers from this hybrid situation of where it's not really tanky to the point that it really wants to get up deep into the combat spot, but at the same time it does have the ability to do it. It just doesn't have the sticking power without burning its resources to sustain itself. And if you're effectively doing that, then what's the difference between you and a paladin? So, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. I like it. I just, unless I play it, I'm not entirely sold on it. The Divine Intervention, you can call upon your deity or pantheon to intervene on your behalf. As a magic action, choose any cleric spell level 5 or lower that requires a reaction to cast. As part of the same action, you can cast that spell without expending a spell slot or material components. You can't use that feature again until a long rest. That's not bad. Effectively a free cast. At 14, you get an improved Blessed Strike, grows more powerful, extra damage to the Divine Strike increases to 2d8. You get more potent spellcasting when you cast a cleric cantrip and deal damage to a creature with it. You can give vitality to yourself or another creature within 60 feet. You get a number of temporary hit points equal to twice your wisdom modifier, which sort of makes you not want, like, to be fair, if you're in the thick of it, like, you could use both of these as like a switch hitter caster kind of thing. That does have some potency to it, because then you could give yourself temporary hit points, you can give an ally temporary hit points. Like, there's a lot you can do. But if you're going to be constantly spamming out a cantrip to, like, give people temporary hit points, you probably have like 4 other companions. If 2 of them are a frontline and you're a switch hitter, then you want to throw out 3 like cantrips, and it's not going to be that much extra protection. So it's like you're going to be playing a game of juggling with this class to either decide, do I want to hit them and maybe get this Divine Strike off, or do I want to cast at them and get some temporary hit points and some damage out. It's good, but it's a weird spot because normally you don't want to be casting in the melee. So it's an interesting situation to be in. What do you really want to do here? Unlike most of the more martial classes, they will cast their spell and then go in and like do their hits and everything else, and they'll just then become pretty much a melee hitter, and then if they kill their target, maybe they'll switch over to cast a couple more spells and then re-engage someone else. The cleric generally wants to be kind of further removed in order to do those healing spells. This sort of makes you more able to be in there, but I don't really know if you want to be in there unless you're rocking the heavy armor. You didn't take the thaumaturgy bonus. Let's see here. Where was it? Yeah, so if you take the protector feat, you gain that heavy armor, you gain the martial weapons, so you get that heavy hitting, or you go for thaumaturgy, so you get 1 extra cantrip and the bonuses. And really, if you're wanting to be a switch hitter, you're pretty much forced into the protector area. But maybe the idea is like this is for more of like heavier RPing to give you more flexibility. I'm not sure. I really need to play this to make up my mind. I think you could tell that I'm like really indecisive on this. To be fair, I am very biased. I liked where the cleric was previously. I don't necessarily dislike what they've done with the cleric, but I feel like there is a very fundamental shift that effectively makes them more like paladins. And now I'm kind of sitting here looking at it and I'm like, well, what is the difference between a cleric and a paladin now? Because they have the melee aspect, which was more of the paladin's domain, and they have more spell casting, which is where the paladin was supposed to be weaker. So what are they doing? Like, where do I belong? 19, you get the standard epic boon. At level 20, you get greater divine intervention. You can call upon you can call upon even more powerful divine intervention. When you use divine intervention feature, you can choose wish when you select a spell. Wish is insanely powerful. I mean, this is just, you can literally destroy tesseracts, which are supposed to be like world game ending like calamities if it's awakened. This is technically the only way to defeat it is with wish magic. And you just straight up get it. I don't think there's ever been an edition where any class straight up gets wish magic. But if you've gone all 20 levels with a cleric, yeah, it's powerful. It's very powerful. Now, we're going to be going through the cleric spell list. I'm not going to go and show every single spell. I'm going to point out a couple interesting ones, but yeah. Spare the dying. You can stop things from dying just by touching it. It's useful so you don't have to just be assisting with the rolls. You have Cure Wound. You have Healing Word. You have quite a few different ways to protect people from getting poisoned. Got Detect Magic. Again, Find Traps, Gentle Repose to protect them from decay and becoming undead, which in an undead setting can be a huge thing, very powerful. You can also get the Spirit Weapon, which is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite spells. Zone of Truth is also very useful for RPing, stops anything from lying effectively. You do technically gain the ability to be a necromancer. It's frowned upon, but you can do it. Also, just because you're you're a cleric, doesn't mean that your god is necessarily good. You could be a dark god's cleric. That is a thing. So, just remember, all these things really dependent upon how you use them. Also, one of the few classes that gives you the ability to break curses. That is quite powerful. At level 4, you gain a couple auras that you can use. Level 5, Circle of Power. Have advantage. It's pretty useful. You can also Hollow Ground. That is a very unique spell that rarely is given in any of the classes. Now, bards can get them because they're able to take the cleric's tree. However, it's just not thematically as cool as a cleric sanctifying an area, you know? That there's a certain level of cool aspect of like, yo dog, this is my holy symbol. God bless this ground. None may enter. It it is kind of cool. You can also bind things to a plane, but quite a few other um, classes have that. You also can summon celestials. Start getting some really powerful spells like the ability to have True Sight. True Sight, what is that? Effectively, you can see through all illusions, default. I think it also allows you to see in low light and also no light situations, but don't quote me on that. It is quite powerful though. Also note it's 120 feet. Start getting some power words. This, I think, was an earlier spell in a couple editions. Now they've moved it much further down in the tree, which makes sense. Just being straight up able to counter all magic is pretty powerful. However, I kind of liked it thematically, like being a mage hunter or something like that. You could do some really funny things with this, but now it being an 8th level spell pretty much forces you to like really commit to being a cleric if you want to get this ability. Then you start getting like astral projection, which if you've seen Vox Machina, Yeah, I believe that's what Pike does when she goes like Golden Girl and flies into the bottom of the ziggurat. Um, that that is what they're doing effectively. Interesting that it's under the school of necromancy. You also gain true resurrection. So now we're going to start talking about some of the domains. Life domain, as I said, this is the most stereotypical one. You're a healer through and through. You are here to make sure everyone stays healthy, and to do that, you have the Disciple of Life. When a spell you cast has a spell slot, restores HP to a creature, that creature regains additional hit points. Additional hit points equals 2 plus the spell slot level. So, if you're casting an 8th level spell to heal something, they get 10 extra HP. But on the lower levels, when you're like 1, 2, 3 level spell slots, getting back 5 HP or 4 HP or 3 HP, whatever, that's pretty big. That does add up. You also get the life domain spells, which is Aid, Bless, Cure Wounds, Lesser Restoration, Mass Heal, Word, so that's an AoE for everyone that can hear you, Revivify, Aura of Death, Death Ward, Greater Restoration, and Mass Cure Wounds. Overall, a pretty strong showing for heals, especially because everything is buffed on what they're doing because of Disciple of Life. It's really good AoE protection from dying and keeping people topped up. You also get the Preserve Life feature, which, as a magic action, you can present your holy symbol, expend Channel Divinity, and evoke healing energy that can restore hit points equal to 5 times your Cleric level. Choose bloody creatures within 30 feet of you, and this includes yourself, and you can divide the hit points amongst them. This feature can restore a creature only up to half health, because bloodied effectively means a creature at half health, or lower. So, pretty useful. That, if you're rank 5 and you get 5 times that, 25. Not bad. Now, Blessed Healer at rank 6. Healing spells you cast heal others as well immediately after you cast a spell with a spell slot that restores HP. To one or more creatures, you regain hit points equal to 2 plus the spell slot's level. A good way to just make sure you're safe and not having to burn your spells on yourself. It's nice. It's not huge, but it is nice. At 17, this is where it gets a little nutty, because this removes all the variability from roll. You just heal. Normally roll 1 or more dice to roll hit points with a spell or Channel Divinity, so it's all your healing options. You don't roll dice for healing. Instead, you just use the highest number possible for each dice, which means if you were to roll 2d6, you automatically get 12. If you have 4d12s, do the math. 12, 12, 12, 12, 24, 24, 48. Yeah, 48. And that is across everyone if you're using like mass word heal. I think that it was it mass word heal. Oh, it's 2d4. What am I thinking? There's something that's like an AoE with d12, I thought. But I'm not remember. I thought it was mass words heal. Increased by d4 for each spell slot above level 3. Maybe this is what I was thinking of and it's d4s. Oh well. But anyways, still massive. This turns you into an absolute massive healer. And this is why no class can beat you at healing, effectively. It makes a cleric the undisputed highest healing character in the game, because you can, at level 17, just say max. It removes everything, removes variability. It's too powerful. Now, going away from being a healing bot to being a DPS creature, this is where I really am saying you're becoming like a spellcaster. At third level, you get the Light Domain spells, which is Burning Hand, Fey Fire, Scorch Ray, See Invisibility, Daylight, Fireball, Arcane Eye, Wall of Fire, Flame Strike, Scry. A lot of offensive spells, a lot of spells that you don't want to be close to cast these things. All good spells, but not melee range spells. You also gain Radiance of Dawn. As a magic action, you present your holy symbol and use your channel Divinity, and you emit a flash of light for 30-foot emanation around yourself. Any magical darkness, such as the darkness spell, in that area is dispelled. Additionally, each creature of your choice in that area must make a Constitution saving throw. Take radiant damage equal to 2d10 plus your cleric level on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. That's pretty powerful. This really makes good use of your cleric casts. But you only get 2 casts of it. It's 30 foot though, it has high damage. You use it well, you can turn the tide of a battle if it's with a lot of squishy targets. You also get Warding Flare. A creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself making an attack roll, you can take a reaction and impose disadvantage on the attack roll, causing light to flare before it hits or misses. When you use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of 1. Only regained on long rest. This is my favorite feature, personally. I really like the ability to just, nope, disadvantage. Because if you're in the back line, you don't really have as many opportunities to burn your reaction. So having this as a way to go and say, nope, disadvantage, it's useful. It's not huge, but it is useful. You get to improve it at level 6. You regain all expended uses when you short or long rest. It's pretty useful. In addition, whenever you use Warding Flare, you can give the target of the triggered attack a number of temporary hit points of 2d6 plus your wisdom modifier. That's a pretty good way to get some temporary hit points out there. But again, temporary hit points don't stack. So this is going to be competing later on with your, where was it? Your potent spell casting or your spell casting. Yeah, sure, you can pop it and maybe it'll be higher, but it could also in theory be lower. But the amount of damage they could take if the attack hits could be higher than what they had. So it's like, okay, I'm reducing their overall. So in a weird way, you're almost damaging them because you're reducing the amount of temporary hit points that they have, but you're not really chunking into their health. It's a weird situation. You could roll poorly. So it's good, but it has a lot of risk. At level 17, you gain Corona of Light. As a magic action, you can cause yourself to emit an area of sunlight that lasts 1 minute, or you can dismiss it. You emit bright light for 60 feet and an additional 30 feet of dim light. Your enemies in the bright light have disadvantage on saving throws against Radiance of the Dawn and any spells that deal fire or radiant damage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum 1, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, it doesn't last long enough to be a replacement for your light spell or your flare spell or anything like that that you're actually going to use for exploring. However, when in a pinch fighting, something that prefers darkness or really wants you to not be able to see, this is a very powerful option to ensure you have the ability to do damage, to deny them the ability to hide, and to make sure your allies are able to be able to effectively engage in a dark or suboptimal lighting environment. They also gain disadvantage on the spell saving throws, so yeah, it's pretty good. It's a good choice. Now, you have the Trickery Domain, which is one of my favorites as well. This one's pretty funny. It's all about being really sneaky, and I actually see a very strong pairing with wizards, sorcerers, or warlocks on this. Blessing of the Trickster is level 3. As a magic action, you can choose yourself or another creature, willing creature, and they gain advantage on dexterity saving checks. Blessing lasts until you finish a long rest, or you use the feature again. So you can't spam it on everybody and give everyone advantage. However, it's a really good way to go and give your really dummy thick paladin the ability to kind of sneak. It's not phenomenal, but it is a good option. You also gain Trickery Domain spells, which is Charm Person, Disguise Self, Invisibility, and Pass Without a Trace. Pass Without a Trace is huge because you effectively have a 30-foot aura that you and each creature you choose to have with you has a plus 10 bonus to dexterity stealth checks and leaving no tracks. That, like, you effectively become so good at hiding just out the gate, you can pass most of the basic checks without too much difficulty because DC 10 is where most of them sit at. You also gain Hypnotic Pattern, Non-Detection, Confusion, Dimension Door, Dominate Person, and Modify Memory. I think those are relatively straightforward up to a point. The big one that makes me think that this would combo really well with a lot of different casters, though, is this Invoke Duplicity. You consume a bonus action and a channel Divinity, and you create a perfect visual illusion of yourself in an unoccupied space that you can see within 30 feet. The illusion is intangible and doesn't occupy its space, so things can walk through it effectively. It lasts for 1 minute, but it ends early if you dismiss it or become incapacitated. The illusion is animated and mimics your expressions and gestures. While it persists, you gain the following benefits. You can cast spells through it, but you have to use your own senses, so it doesn't get to use its range, like as if it was shooting from it. You have to still calculate the target's distance from yourself, but it will go there. And the way you could use this is, let's say there's a wall with a line of people hiding behind it 15 feet away. And you don't want to expose yourself to them, and you have scrolls of magic of, let's say, Fireball. You drop your little illusion behind them. Now, maybe they know you cast illusions and stuff like that, so they're not going to react to it particularly much. Or maybe they don't even notice you dropping the illusion right there. And now, you fire Fireball instead of trying to drop it around and they have cover and stuff like that that might give them a reasoning to protect it. Or maybe you're using some other spell, Ray spell. Boom. You're dropping it from behind. They have no cover. They have no protection. They have no advantages or anything else. You are effectively shelling them from behind their own lines. And here's the thing. You can move this thing. You can only move it 30 feet, and it has to stay within 120 feet of yourself. But it's a bonus action. You can keep walking this thing up to people, and they can't do anything to you. They have nothing they can do about it unless they have Dispel Magic or some other way to counter the spell, because they can't attack it, they can't hurt it. So it's effectively a free casting point that, unless they're really powerful in the magical department, they're unlikely to actually have an answer to it. And then this is kind of useful maybe if you paired it with a rogue, like you went like Trickster Domain, Cleric, and Rogue. you could go place it 5 feet next to a creature and gain advantage on attack rolls against that creature, given how distracting the illusion is to the target. Not bad. Definitely has some uses. I would rather use it to go mess with people and just put it around and just drop spells from behind their lines and absolutely just frustrate some fools. Like a bunch of archers 120 feet away, you go walk your little illusion all the way up there, and then you just go Ray of Frost. Goodbye. Or Spray of Color. Or Darkness. You drop Darkness on them. That, you know, there's a lot of different things you can do to just troll. Well, Darkness you could probably just cast from where you are. You don't have to do anything. But I digress. You also get Trickster's Transposition, which again is very useful for when they think that, oh, that's the illusion. I've hit it half a dozen times. It can cast at me. So I know for a fact, as many times as I hit it, I haven't done anything to it. You bonus action then, and you flip with that illusion and teleport. Like, think about that. All of a sudden, they don't know where you are, and they're thinking, well, maybe he has 2 illusions and he's actually invisible. Or maybe there's something else going on. Or maybe it's a ghost. There is so much you can do at level 6 as a cleric with a trickster domain. It's not even funny. This has so much potential, it is pretty wild. At 17, you get improved duplicity, so gains more power in the way that your allies also get advantage when the illusion's next to it, which is pretty powerful because, again, you're most likely want to be a caster in the back. Or you have Healing Illusion, which is when it ends, if it's next to a creature 5 feet, get a number of healing points equal to the cleric's level. That isn't particularly impressive, but after a fight, that could be a nice little pick-me-up. Not terrible. Not great, but not terrible. Now, the War Domain, this is definitely also one of my favorites. It's really useful as just a 3-point dip. You go, you get Guiding Strike. Oh, hold up, actually, did I miss? No, okay, I did not. You gain Guiding Strike, which is 30 feet of a target that misses an attack roll. You can channel Divinity, and you give them a +10 bonus, potentially causing that to hit. For characters that have really big swings, this could be a huge deal. Like champions or battle masters, someone that's going to be expending things on melee swings. This is useful. You also gain a group of spells: Guiding Bolt, Magic Weapon, Shield of Faith, Spiritual Weapon, Crusader's Mantle, Spirit Guardians, Fire Shield, Freedom of Movement, Hold Monster, Steel Wind Strike. Pretty good across the board. At that 3-point dip, though, I think you get a lot out of it pretty quickly. You also gain the War Priest. As a bonus action, you can make one attack with a weapon or an unarmed strike. You can use bonus action a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier. You regain all expended uses when you finish a short or long rest. That's pretty useful. So if you have another class that, let's say, Monk, that also uses Wisdom, this becomes pretty useful. 3-point dip. A lot of utility. Gain a couple spells. Is this a cantrip? No, first level spell. You get Magic Weapon. Gain Spiritual Weapon. All good things. At level 6, you get the War God's Blessing, which allows you to then channel Divinity to cast Shield of Faith or Spiritual Weapon, which is nice in the way that you don't have to worry about concentration checks anymore, and instead it only lasts a minute. But cast that spell again, incapacitated or die are the only ways to lose it. It's not bad. And then at level 17, you gain Avatar Battle, which effectively just gives you resistance to bludgeon, pierce, and slash damage. That isn't terrible. It's not the most phenomenal thing in the world, but if you're a tank, which is what this kind of pushes you towards, it's a very nice touch. Overall, I think the Cleric is a really strong caster. I feel like they're trying to give it more things to do in the melee to get up there and get in the faces of the enemies and do some very devastating attacks. However, I think the hit die and the overall prevalence of spells really limits the utility of those features. And I think with how many different ways you can get temporary hit points, it's not necessarily the best call to use them. Now, granted, maybe you could argue you don't have to give the temporary hit points if you're going to be reducing it or something like that. And yeah, I think you could technically argue you have the ability to say no. But personally, I feel like the Cleric is a caster, but it's really down to how you want to play it. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, guys. This is Mr. No Souls, and today I reviewed the Cleric. Please let me know if you liked this video, if you thought I was annoying, if you thought the music was too loud. Let me know. Anyways, I'm going to stop babbling here. Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.